All right, now this is a favorite of mine. Now you see, are our pictures blocking any of these?
I can try to move it down in
Well,
case it
I
is.
just moved it
So,
down. Did that
yeah.
do it?
I
Okay.
think this will move it down on my side so it won't get blocked.
All right. The reason I say that now, when I was doing a special event, again, I don't need to do too much history, but I said, how can I make this not just special event after special event after special event? So I said, all right, we got to get more focus. So here's what I said. You start with the left box, purpose, and then you go to the right box, outcomes. Now look at the logic and connection between those two. First of all, with your purpose, you have to decide. Let's say it's an annual banquet in October, okay? You might have 50 people, 150, 500 people, whatever. You have to prioritize those 4 boxes. You have to do it. You can't beg off. So, is it fundraising? Is it appreciation for our people? Is it to inspire them, an inspiring speaker, or is it just to have awareness of we're just trying to build awareness? Okay, you get it? So let's say you say, okay, we're short of money. Fundraising is the first. We got a really great speaker. We're going to inspire them, and then appreciate them, then awareness. Okay, so if fundraising is first, over under outcomes, what is our top priority? Gift income. Now, in other times under fundraising, we say we need new partners, we need monthly partners. In under appreciation and awareness, we need, or the other 3, we need ownership. We need our people to know the ministry better. We might say, look, there are 5 organizations in our state like us. We need to position in the marketplace with the right people. And the final one, we just need people to increase their giving. You know, they've been giving the same amount for 5 years. We need to have a compelling message as to why you should increase your monthly gift or your annual gift. So you see what I did? If you analyze any of those 4 on the left under purpose and combine it with the desired outcomes on the right, boxes in between will flow logically. So we'll stick with the fundraising one. All right, so let's say it's fundraising. We need to raise some new partners. Well, I guess new partners would be new people, not just monthly partners, but new people. So we'd look at under management, we'd have to do, well, who are we inviting there? What's the location? Now, I'm going to give an example where I live. I'm in the Seattle area. And when I started working for a Christian ministry, I worked in Bellevue. There are bridges over to Seattle. And from Bellevue, in the day when I was there 30 years ago, you could leave after work, pick up your spouse, babysitter, drive into Seattle, and go to one of the big hotels for a nice banquet. Well, this is 30 years later, and that's now such a hassle of traffic on the bridge, such a hassle finding parking. So some Bellevue hotels have been built, many have been built, and now they stay in Bellevue. So location makes a difference. It's almost like now you need to have an event in Seattle and Bellevue because the 2 sides won't drive to the other. Now that's just a location issue, but you may have other issues. Then you look at your database. Who do we have? What kind of information? You design the invite accordingly. The registration process and mail date. Now, one of the things we do to manage this is we look at 1 year before the event. Yes, 1 year for getting a location. Maybe we have a speaker coming in, all those kind of things. So we look under sponsorships or table hosts. How do we do it? Who's our target market? Do we have sponsor levels like $100, $500, $1,000 for the table? What do they get? Is it a business thing? And then we have hosts, and they may say, a host says, well, I'm paying for all 8 at my table. I'm going to host it. Well, then guess what? That affects the registration process. So that person comes in and we have all their other names that they've already paid for before the event, so we make sure we don't lose their names. All right, now the program. Being a musician and doing a lot of musical programs and a lot of worship leading, the flow of the program is very important to me. Is there a VIP reception? Maybe you have, I remember one time with this organization I worked with, they brought in Bill Bennett, and he had just written that big book on, I can't remember what it was, a big, thick yellow book of stories and stuff. And he came early, and to the major donors, we got a signed copy before the event. That was cool. So then you have your program, you have an MC, Master of Ceremonies, a speaker, and the challenge. I don't call it the offering anymore. This is an event to challenge people to give. So how you do this, the order of where do you put testimonies? I believe they should be in the program. The MC guides you through it. And then if the executive director speaks, fine. But after, I think the speaker that's going to be, and whether that's the executive director as the main speaker, fine. But after you build a momentum to a peak is when you do the challenge. You don't do testimony, this, that, and emotionally go up and down. You want to build momentum to the challenge. And then I have a whole script I train people with to come out and say, thank you for this. Thank you for the testimonies. Now it's our turn tonight, ladies and gentlemen. We have a goal of $75,000 to raise. And as you can see by our table sponsors and your tickets buying the meal, we're already at $30,000 of our goal. Now I'm going to do a timeout here, Andrew. Never say that because you bought a ticket or we have sponsored, you paid for the meal. No one cares to pay for the meal. That's an accountant's thinking. You want to say, how much of our goal have you given to? So if you buy a ticket for $25 each, $50, and you get all the tickets and you get sponsors, you count that towards the $75,000 goal for the evening. Why? Because who cares if you're buying a meal? That's a transaction. That's not a gift. So you just say, we're already this far towards our goal. And the momentum now is the challenge of how much more we need to raise. So remember, they'll know, okay, I bought this meal. That didn't go anywhere towards the need. Well, it's a psychological thing. So anyway, then final thing, follow up, make sure you have your responses ready. Thank yous, a follow up. You might put on your response form, I want to meet with the executive director, or I want to do the request to have a tour of the building. There's 5 responses. Thank you for coming and for your gift. Thank you for coming and your pledge. Thank you for your coming with your pledge and the first gift on that. Thank you for coming but no gift. And thank you for a reservation and sorry you couldn't be there. So that's 5 different topics to be ready to get out within how fast? Well, some like to get it within 24 to 48 hours, others within the first week, but don't let the response be later than that. Okay, so now you can see I've taken apart the whole logic of a special event and dug down into the psychology and management of each one. And so like I said, you can plan a year before, then you can do 8 months, 6 months, 4 months, 2 months, 8 weeks on down. And you can have a team work through these things. Andrew, any questions?
No, this is great practical stuff. I want you to just be able to keep going. Thanks.
All right. Let me press. I'm pressing the button, but it's not.
You might have to click on the screen again. Sometimes if you get clicked off the screen. Yeah, there you go.
All right. Now, switching to, capital campaigns. This is a capital campaign organizational chart, which is different than, I was going to move these back up here, which is different than your annual fund. And that's the main reason I want you to understand you have the board of directors, then you might have a chair of the campaign or an honorary chair or co-chairs. To the left, I always put a prayer support committee for every one of my campaigns. And then I'm counsel off to the right. Then we put together the leadership team. The leadership team is the executive director, the campaign director, which many times is the director of development, which manages all the activity. And then I usually have representatives of the staff, usually of the program and maybe finance, but the leaders, the executive team. And then I have representation from the board of directors, usually just 2 to 3 board members. If you have a board of 12 or more, just 2 to 3, and they become the subcommittee for the board on the capital campaign. Okay. Now, the two main areas of the capital campaign, well, are you start from the top of the donor pyramid. Remember, I showed you in the donor pyramid, you started from the bottom with impulse donors, monthly donors, and major donors. That's the common way to do your annual fund. Capital campaign is just the opposite. You start with leadership gifts here at the bottom through the steering committee, which are your community leaders, for gifts above 100,000, then strategic gifts and major gifts. So basically gifts $10,000 and above are done through personal proposals and contacts with your leadership team and steering committee. Now, I'm not going to take the time because there's so much to learn about a capital campaign, but I just want to show you then, when you get to ask for gifts near the bottom of the donor pyramid, now you're into the impulse donors, $10,000 and below. So you have an advisory committee. What are they? Those are people that have endorsed the campaign in your community, and they've lended their name or position to your letterhead or any of those kind of things. And this is where you do the smaller activities like a banquet or like a church campaign. Go speaking at the churches every Sunday all over the place. And you might have then a direct mail appeal. You might have a phone-a-thon. You might have a golf tournament. You get me? So that's the basic outline of how you put a campaign together. So the signs of a failed capital campaign are those that start with friends and special gifts first. They fail if you go from the bottom up. And I don't have the chart, but there's 3 phases to a campaign: the planning phase, then the quiet leadership phase, which is the leadership strategic major gifts. That's the quiet leadership phase. And then the public phase is the special and friends. So basically, if you start with the public phase first, you will fail. You are to start with the planning phase. That's the whole top half of all these people. And then you start meeting with people at the quiet leadership phase, meaning you don't go out in the public, you talk to people one-on-one. So that's a brief overview of a capital campaign structure and how it differs from the annual fund.
Yeah, thanks again, John. This is very helpful. And I realize that there's whole books and, capital campaigns is a huge field. And a lot of times organizations will work with consultants on capital campaigns too. So
yeah, they 95% do. But the thing I want you to know in this class is mainly, how is a capital campaign different than the annual fund? That's what you must know. You don't need to know the details of the capital campaign, but you just need to know the basic principles, how it differs from the annual fund.
Yeah, that's great. Okay.
Come on. All right. Now, this is called a table of gifts. It can be used for a capital campaign, big numbers, or it can be used for the annual fund. If it's 100,000, 500,000, maybe your budget's 2 million, okay? And what this is an Excel type structure of the donor pyramid. Let that settle in a little bit. So to reach a goal of $1 million in this sample, I need one gift of $150,000. Now, the reason this might be a campaign is because we do 3-year pledges. So that could be $50,000 a year for 3 years. All right, but it could be the annual fund too. Then I need one gift for $100,000. I need 2 gifts at 75. Now, we're at 75. Let's go to the right. So with those 4 gifts, 1, 2, 3, 4, I am at $400,000. So with 4 gifts, I'm at I was a music major, not a math major. But I believe that's 40%. 40% of the goal from the top 4 gifts. And that's how a campaign works, and that's how an annual fund works in terms of focusing the right amounts. Now, you can take 1 0 off of all of these in the middle and be for $15,000, $10,000. It's the same principle. Now, you may say, but John, the largest gift we've ever gotten is $10,000. Okay, let's start with the lead gift being $10,000. What happens then? Everything down below adjusts. Now, Andrew has this spreadsheet, and there's formulas in here. So every time you change one of the number of gifts needed or change the amount, everything on the right will adjust. Am I correct, Andrew? You have that one with formula?
Yeah. In the course, we have all the spreadsheets that are used in this presentation
Good.
that are available in the template.
So,
Yeah.
So what you'll do is if you say, well, 150,000, let's do, you start with what you think your lead gift is, and then you play with it a bit. You look at, well, do we have $15,000 donors? Do we have some prospects for this? And that's how, but this campaign, this tool rather, should help you, whether it's the annual fund or a capital campaign.
Yeah, this is great. Thanks.
All right.